Hey everybody, happy Tuesday, I think. Tack för assist, välkommen tillbaka. Taking a little break at work. It feels really hot today. It's only like 76 degrees, but I don't know, it feels really hot and it's pretty breezy. It feels like a blow dryer. Anyway, on to the topic. So, like a lot of my videos, stuff pops into my head when I'm listening to podcasts. And this is actually something I think about a lot, I worry about a lot for society. Now, I know right off the bat, I'm going to get some okay boomer stuff from some of you. That's okay. I have my point of view. Doesn't mean I'm right, but I think there's something to it. And I think a lot of you are going to agree with me. And it has to do with kind of, have you ever heard the term free-range kids? I was a free-range kid. I think a lot of you that watch my videos are probably close to my age. I know some of you are younger. We tried really hard to raise our kids, and I have talked about this in the past, but I want to go into a little more detail. We tried really hard to give our kids some freedom when they were fairly young. And I'm not saying send your 3-year-old off to the grocery store. That's not what I'm talking about. But for instance, just a couple days ago, I'm in Northern California right now. And just a couple days ago, I saw, it was probably like a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old, a boy and a girl holding hands, walking. No adults around. And I was ashamed of how I thought, because my first impulse was, well, part of it is being in California, which is just, it's a different place. It's like, oh my gosh, 2 little kids walking by themselves. I instantly caught myself and thought, there's nothing wrong with that. This seems like a nice neighborhood that I was in at the time. You know, it's like, that shouldn't be anything. But I promise you, there are people that they see that, they're going to call the police or social services, report the parents. When I was a kid, and granted it was a different time, I started first grade in 1969. I was 5 years old. We had recently moved from Norway. I'm sure I was full on speaking English at that point, but my parents probably weren't very well. My mom walked me to school. It was, we lived on the far north end of town. In fact, it was the second last house on the north end of town. And it was a little town, but it was still, I'm trying to picture it in my mind. It's probably close to a mile to the school, to the elementary school. My mom walked me to school for 2 or 3 days, and then I walked on my own. Sometimes I would meet up with a friend part way, but 5 years old, I walked in. That's probably a little extreme, especially if you live in a big city. But, you know, as we got older, and when I say older, I'm talking like 7, 8, 9 years old, we'd go off on our bikes, especially in the summer, by ourselves all day long. No adult supervision, no checking in, just get up. Mom would make us breakfast, and we were off until supper. No cell phones, no way to know where your kids are, but people didn't worry about it or think about it. I did a video a couple months ago about the creepiest experience of my life, where pretty sure I ran into that serial killer, that the one big abduction / murder that we heard about my whole time growing up was about an hour and a half from our house, our town. So it was very rare, and parents just didn't worry about it. Now, the reason I'm bringing all of this up, this is not just my thoughts here. There are all kinds of studies that show that younger people, and when I say younger people, I'm not saying everybody. It's a general term. There are exceptions to everything. But younger people as a whole do less, drink less, which you could say that's a good thing, fine. But they don't get their driver's licenses. They don't date. I have seen this personally, younger people that are afraid to call and order a pizza. Just so much anxiety, so much, I don't know if it's something in the water, if it's the way they're raised, but I believe strongly, and you can come at me for this, and that's fine, I can take it. I believe strongly, sorry, I got a text there, that if kids aren't allowed to have some freedom and independence when they're young, it's going to carry into adulthood. I mean, I had a job at 12. I had a newspaper route. I worked at my dad's welding shop. Here, the reason I know this is because a couple of podcasts I listen to, they have kids that are just turning 16. And in California, for the most part, and maybe farms and stuff are different, you can't even work till you're 16. And there are people that think that's a horror. That's absurd. I could not wait to work and make my own money. And every guy I knew, all my friends were like that. I want to make my own money. I want to, have spending money. And here, not just here, it's not just California, it's other places too, where it's like a kid's working at 14, that's a horror. It's child labor, brutality, and which is just absurd. I'm sorry, you will not convince me that that's a bad thing. I believe strongly that my friends and I and everybody I knew growing up, having jobs fairly young, built that resilience for the workforce when you're older, and actually go into it to make a living. You grow up your whole life protected. Everything's organized. Baseball games starting at young ages. When I was really little, we went and played baseball and kickball, and you ever play 500 where you throw the football and you call out a number and you fight to catch it. We made up our own games. And there was no real organized stuff until, I don't know, maybe 8, 9 years old. And even then, it wasn't like you had full-on uniforms. Now there's 4 and 5-year-olds where they're in leagues. They have practices all the time. They wear full uniforms. I don't think that's a good thing. I really don't. And you could try to argue me out of it. That's fine. I will read your comments and I respect your opinion. But I do not think that's a good thing. I think that kids are much healthier and better off in life if they have freedom when they're young, if they have parents that just hover over them with everything they do. Summer vacation comes along and it's camp from 8 till noon, and then it's this from 1 to 5, and then it's a baseball game at 7, and everything is organized and structured, and there's never any time for those kids to build an identity, to go out and make their own rules, to maybe get lost. And some of you are probably thinking, get lost, that's horrible, oh my gosh. No, it's a good thing. I mean, I'm not saying get lost and not find your way back. I'm saying get lost, find your own way back, figure out your own rules for games, figure out who's cheating. All that stuff is, I think it's critical, and I think we're losing something. And again, I can hear you saying that, okay, boomer, you lived in a different time. I did live in a different time. And I understand that now with social media and smartphones and all the stuff we have, there's so many distractions. I was listening to a podcast the other day. I don't remember the specifics of it, but I remember the generality was some parent offered, they have a couple of kids that just are on their smartphones all the time. Of course, you allow that from a young age. What do you expect? They offered him, like, I don't know if it was 50 or $100 or something. Say, take this, you can go do anything you want to do, within reason. Go to the store, buy yourself something fun, go get a football and play football, do this. And they chose to stay on their phones. If they were my kids, they wouldn't have had the choice. They'd have been like, no. Granted, my youngest is 25. So, when he was 5, 6, cell phones were still a relatively new thing. I don't think we let any of our kids have cell phones until they were probably 14, 15, somewhere in there. There are lots of schools banning cell phones in classes, which that is so crazy that they even have to do that. This is common. I know that for a fact. The kids will sit in class on their cell phone, scrolling through TikTok or YouTube or whatever, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. And the teachers in a lot of states have no authority to tell them to stop. That is insanity. How are you supposed to teach anybody anything? That's just crazy. So a lot of Europe is starting to ban phones in classes, and it is starting to take hold here, which in my opinion is a very good thing. It goes back to the same point of trying to build, you know, humans that are capable of surviving in society and thriving in society. If there's so many schools now across the country where they just push you through. I actually had it happen with one of my kids. One of my kids is very charismatic. Everybody loves them, and they kind of slid through school and they just got A's because the teachers liked them. That doesn't help the kid. That doesn't benefit the kid. There are so many colleges now that are talking about how the freshman classes that are coming in don't know anything. And it's not good. Graduating kids just for the sake of graduating them and putting a statistic on your school roll, that doesn't do that kid any favor. If you don't prepare them, if they can't read, there's so many states, so many counties, so many districts in the country where, you know, reading, writing, and math is not the priority. They teach, in my opinion, crazy crap that shouldn't be taught in schools. I might go into that one of these days, because schools are there to teach kids history and not to hate your country, you know. I know I'm straying a little bit, and like I said, I'll probably get some negative comments. That's okay. I have my opinion, you have yours. Hopefully we can respectfully discuss if you want to do that. But I just believe strongly that it's so important for kids to have time on their own, to not be structured constantly, to never have any freedom. I cannot imagine my childhood growing up like that. Granted, it was a different time, but there were still sports. You know, I was in sports my whole life. I played soccer for 13 years. I played basketball in high school. Our high school never had a football team until after I graduated, which was a bummer. But it could have easily been that way. They could have made it like that, where we're just structuring everything. I went to a couple of summer camps here and there for a few days or a week, but it was never the whole summer. Most of my summer was just free to do what I wanted to do. And it's good for your brain. It's good for your, what's the word I'm looking for? Feeling good about yourself. The word's escaping me. Self-worth. That's not the word I'm looking for, but somebody out there is screaming at the video right now. This is what you mean. By the way, if you're digging the videos, I really appreciate you subscribing, sharing, commenting, liking. And even if you don't like the video and you just watch for a couple minutes, thanks anyway. Have a nice day. So I would like to hear your comments on this. I do plan on starting to go do here and there a longer video, like an hour-long video or an hour and a half, because there are some subjects I just don't feel like I get into, or I'm just starting to get in, scraping the surface of them, and then it's like, oh, we're almost at 20 minutes, I better stop. It's obviously up to you how long you want to watch this, and if I keep your interest or not. And if I don't, then I'm doing a bad job. But yeah, I'm actually very curious, especially younger parents, if you're watching this, you know, and you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s. If you're in your 40s, you're probably not thinking you're young, but trust me, you are. So, yeah, I just wanted to share some thoughts. When this stuff pops in my head, I was like, I could use a little break. I'm going to go do a video in my truck. That's why I'm in my truck. And that's why I'm covered in paint. So, tack för denna gång, men snackas igen snart. I look forward to reading your comments. Go Norway, 2-0 in the World Cup. Allt för Norge. Erling Haaland is just a beast. He's scored 2 goals in each game. He's like a freight train running down the field. He's 6'5", 205 pounds, just a freaking specimen, and he's just a badass. His dad was a really good soccer player. His dad actually played in the last World Cup for Norway in '98, I believe. And yeah, it's so fun watching the Viking row. Oh, I would like to be part of that. I was watching the end of the game last night, and it just, I feel so much Norwegian pride, and I cannot wait to go back and take my kids, taking 3 of my 4 kids and my wife. We're all going back this summer. I wish my oldest daughter could come too, but they've got 4 kids, young, you know, from 1-year-old to 14. So it's pretty tough to travel halfway around the world with a bunch of little kids. So hopefully next time. So go Norway. I hope you all have a beautiful day. Whether you send me negative comments or bad or good ones, I hope you have a beautiful day. Peace. Love.